Nico Echavarria, I love you, my guy. I don't think you're winning this tournament.
Welcome to Center Cup. I am Kyle Miserino here as always with Will Neary and Nick Newmeyer, and we've got a recap Monday today and a lot to talk about after that finish on Sunday at the Cognizant. We'll touch on all the classics, all the action from the weekend. We had the HSBC Women's World Tour World Championship. We had a DP World Tour event. We had the Corn Ferry Tour as well. But we've got to start with Nico Echevarria's win at the Cognizant Classic. Ended up being a thrilling tournament down the stretch. But first, I asked you guys, did you know Nico's house, wife closed on a house during his round on Friday?
Yeah, no,
The
it's
first time
crazy.
hearing of it.
And apparently Shane Lowry had relocated and he was based out of Florida and all of his family was there to watch.
Oh my
And
goodness.
he did hold the putt to retain the Ryder Cup. You know that?
Oh, did he?
He's a major champion, Royal Port Rush. It's almost like nobody ever mentions that. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh. That was, I kind of tuned into the broadcast late, not gonna lie. But then as soon as I saw your text, Kyle, then that's all I could hear. Like I couldn't stop hearing it. It was excessive to the point of like I was like screaming in my apartment every time I heard it.
Yeah,
But
they were grasping at some straws to try to don't blame them, but to try to fill the air there for a while.
I mean, in
Yeah,
terms of building the excitement, I just gotta we'll put it right out there. Will, I think we owe our man Kyle just a nice little round of applause.
We do. Do you want to take
He
a
did
lap,
it.
Kyle?
thank you, thank you, thank you. I
Do you have a
mean,
speech prepared?
there are three guys on this podcast, and one of them has picked a winner, and the two others are chasing his shadow. And
That's
that's
true.
all that's all that needs to be said. I did pick Nico. I really it was I think what worked to my benefit was my promptness and just looking at the guys in the field and looking at anybody because what we had talked about before was how random this was going to be. So I was like, give me somebody between 4,000 and 5,000 odds, and I'm picking one of them. It was going to be Nico or Homa, and I'm glad I went with
Oof.
Nico.
Correct
That would have
choice.
been
Homa had a good
rough.
week though. Good week out of Homa, but not as good as Nico, obviously.
Yeah, I got screwed, Hot Lee, played pretty well on Saturday and Sunday, but just kind of made the cut on the number. Didn't really start strong. Just I thought that was going to be the random pull, but I guess not.
Yeah, I gotta say, I went with Mac Meissner, not my finest, but hey, I will say when I brought him up in our, I do my picks on TikTok or whatever. You guys should go check that out. But when I did my spiel on Mac Meissner, I did say that if he can get the rock rolling, he's going to be a threat, and he did not get the rock rolling at all. Oh my God, it was horrible. Out of literally everybody who did WD, he was dead last in putting. So.
Jeez.
I'm glad I built in that little safety net for myself, but still pretty atrocious showing out of both me and Mac. I tend to think of myself and the people I pick as kind of we're riding a tandem bicycle. It's like we both power one another. So um, tough showing, but Kyle, I can't loud you enough for this just like incredible performance. I think just for a little background, we do our picks every week and we do get points based on finishes. And Kyle is now at 13 points, while Nick is at 5 and I'm at 3. So
Oof.
this isn't a first time show. I mean, you had Siwoo Kim who had a couple T2s and threes in there when you were riding his back there a little bit.
Now I feel
You've
like
been
I've
you've
got
been
all the pressure on me now. Coming up,
you
people
do.
are gonna be, What's the pick? What's the pick? What's the pick?"
I know.
Now I've got to reassess and I'm just gonna keep on doing what I'm doing. But as Sunday moved along, Nico was up on the leaderboard after Thursday, Friday. He kind of had a bad round on Friday, and then played well again on Saturday, and then was playing well on Sunday, just wasn't doing anything extraordinary as Lowry started off super extraordinary. And we're thinking towards the middle of Sunday's round, all right, well, we're gonna run away with it. So we have to touch on kind of what happened starting at 16. Will, what'd you see and what was your reaction to it as it was happening?
I mean, first, like as we're going down this trail, I mean, I'm glad we spent some time talking about the bear trap on what was it, last Wednesday, because it showed its teeth this week. But really, it only showed its teeth to Shane Lowry. Like it was penalizing across the board, but like that was he that was probably the worst performance I've seen put on. But yeah, going into 16, obviously the second of the three bear trap holes, like it was to take iron off the tee, which is what you need to do. You just like put it in the center of that par four fairway, and then you've got another 200, 190, 200-yard shot over water into the green. And it was maybe the most like atrocious tee ball iron swing I've seen in on a par four. Like when you're laying up, playing it safe like that. Um, Probably the worst I can remember seeing in a long time from a professional like that. I mean, like you could tell the way he finished like low and wrapping around his body that he tried to save it on the way down. I think they showed on the graphic. Obviously, he went right into the water. Had dropped like 60 yards north, but they showed on the graphic that he missed the right edge of the fairway by 29 yards, so 30 yards. He missed the right edge of the fairway, and that's like probably 45 or 50 yards from the center of the fairway he was trying to aim. With I don't know what iron it was. I'm guessing a 4 iron or something like that. Just completely block fade into the water and just it kind of you kind of knew it was over at that point a little bit. Like not really. Obviously
Well,
he
going into 16, he still had a three-shot lead at that point.
yeah
So even once
yeah
he hits it in the water and you're like, okay, maybe he doubles this, he still got a chance to rally there. And I think they said on the broadcast it was the only water ball on 16 all tournament
Yeah, that's
was
right.
that one.
yeah. Was it Nick? You sent that map that we had on Twitter where they show obviously the dots for every water ball, and it's like, or sorry, every tee shot on 16. It's like almost all fairway. A couple of balls out to the right, and then there's just like one short right down in the water, deep in there, and of course it's Lowry. It was a really gross swing, and then the second, obviously, it was honestly one of the better double bogeys I've ever seen. Like that little, I don't know if you guys saw the bunker shot he had to save double there, like a weird downslope,
Yeah.
short sided got it up and down, and then he stepped up to 17 and obviously like had to hit the exact same shot that he had just hit on the tee um, to an island green this time and did the exact same thing. Again, dumped it in the water. So yeah, I won't I'll let you guys think I won't harp on it for too long, but it was a pretty intensely terrible stretch of two holes for Shane Larry. I think so, I saw it was his only back-to-back doubles in his career, I think. I
Wow.
heard that on the broadcast.
And I think honestly, like stuff like this is why I think they need to do something about the Cognizant Classic. I feel like PJ National is getting wasted on that event. Like that is so like the Bear Trap is just such a good stretch of holes, and it decides the tournament. We saw it this year. It showed its teeth and decided the tournament, and it is way too important of a stretch of holes to get wasted at the Cognizant Classic. And so
But you said it last week. You called that out last week. It was a great shout.
yeah, no, it definitely. I just wish there were better players in this field that would have given it a bit more of a higher stage. I feel like it didn't really have that impact until I think the only impactful thing really was those three holes. Other than that, there really just wasn't much to show for this weekend.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, the
as
finish. Go ahead, Kyle. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, as Shane, was starting to run away with it, the only thing was like, all right, well, he's still got to play the toughest holes on the course, so maybe something could happen. Not like you thought something was gonna happen, but you thought maybe it could, and it's just, you're right, it's a course that makes for great theater.
Yeah, it was. I was surprised. Like you said, Nick, it would have been great to have more great players there, or good players there that could have contested for that, like been up there around there when, like where Echavarria was when Shane fell off, because it was a cool, two holes where he collapses, and then it's like, okay, we got some drama now. But then there wasn't actually like it was he blew up and then it was like, okay, no, Echeverry is going to win. Like we're not going to get a Shaney. Like it would have been really cool to have like a third party, like somebody that was in between them that could have made a bogey on, or birdie on, whatever, so the 72nd on that par five to try to get into a playoff. It was like really fast, really abrupt, really dramatic collapse, and then it was like you hit the ground and you're like, oh, okay, this is just Echeverria's tournament now. It like took two swings of like two iron swings from Shane for it to just flip from guaranteed one way to guaranteed another. And it would have been really cool to have, obviously, you can't have it all. I'm asking for a lot, I know, but to have like one more guy up there that could have been in contention for that win down the stretch. But Smotherman couldn't get it done, and Taylor Moore really couldn't. Obviously, had a double of his own early in the round, so there wasn't really enough bodies up there.
And I think it's interesting, like just kind of segueing into like another topic. Like obviously we joke like they said numerous times that Shane Lowry is a major champion. He's a Ryder Cup champion. He hold the winning putt at the Ryder Cup. There's just so many instances in his career where he has dealt with an immense amount of pressure and displayed mental fortitude. But then when you look at the statistics everywhere else, he hasn't won an individual PGA event since the 2019 Open Championship. We're not, as much as we love to count the Zurich Classic, he did that with Roy McIlroy. And then his only other PGA win came in 2015. And so he's now 1 for 6 when sleeping on a 54-hole lead. And so it's just a weird sort of dichotomy seeing that someone that has dealt with all this pressure in this high pressure moments just can't really get it done when the stakes are a bit lower, I guess. It's weird.
It makes almost no sense to me. I mean, I think for one, obviously you can argue like, look, Ryder Cup, Zurich Classic, those are team events. He's got like, fans rallying around him specifically in all this. But the fact that he won at like, I can't think of a situation that would put him under more pressure than trying to close out Royal Portrush Open Championship. Like that is like the event that like I can fathom putting the most pressure possible on Shane Lowry. And to manage to pull that one off, but not be able to pull off things like the Cognizant Classic and like 1 for 6 is a conversation. Like that's I know we're not talking statistically significant sample sizes or whatever, but like 1 for 6 on the PGA Tour, you've got my attention, and I'm what was Tiger Woods's conversion? Obviously, that's the other extreme, but like 94% or whatever on 54
Yeah.
hole leads. I'm probably not exactly right on that, but it's up there. And then to have somebody be 1 for 6, especially somebody that I consider to be a really good golfer, the data considers to be a really good golfer. I think he's still up there in OWGR. He's like obviously he played really well at the two signature events and it has a second place finish here. Like it's weird. I mean, it's bizarre, and you can't really credit it just to team events because he has that ridiculous pressure situation. Maybe he just used it all up at Port Rush. Maybe that's all he had. He had like a certain amount of pressure situation golf he had in his life, and he just committed it all to Port Rush. And honestly, like I bet you if you asked him, he's probably like, "Yeah, I'd take that over any of the other five that I haven't won." But still 1 for 6 is pretty damning evidence that there's something going on there in the mentals. I mean, those two golf swings were not professional golf swings that we saw on Sunday on 16 to 17. They're just like they weren't.
Yeah, and I think he mentioned he to his credit, he did speak to the media afterwards. It's not that hard to do, but he did speak. He was very gracious. He gave some good insights. He talked about, obviously his family was there, and he talked about just how important it was to him to have been able to see. I think he said he'd never seen his 4-year-old daughter like run up to him on the green, and that's what he was looking forward to, and that's what he wanted throughout that round. And you do got to feel for him in that situation, but I think it was interesting that he said, despite that being on his mind, he did not get taken over by the moment, and like that wasn't what caused it. I think he said when he hit those shots on 16 and 17, didn't feel the he almost just didn't feel the impact, and it was just an alien swing. And like we've all been there, like
Mhm.
when we swing and we just it's just so different to everything we've been doing all day. And it's like, I'm not doing anything different. It just feels weird. But you couldn't have picked a worse time for that.
No.
Yeah, and you
His
got to like the professional golfers like on these holes, you got to know where to miss too. I mean, like he's got a million. It's with an iron, you have a million yards left on both 16 and 17. Like your worst case scenario has to be in that left bunker on 16 or pull it and go a little long left of the green on 17. You can't play with the right side on either
Right.
hole. It's
And
it's like
nobody else headed into the water too. So it's like, if you're going to miss, don't like there's missing, and then there's what he did. Like that
yeah.
was that was an extreme miss.
Well, and his quote was, "I just felt like it was weird out there. I just couldn't feel the club face the last 3 holes, then after my tee shot on 16. It was strange. What can I say? It's very disappointing. This is going to be hard to take." I mean, we'll never know. He doesn't even know what was really going through his mind there. I think it's just another, we've talked about this before, how hard it is to get over the hump and to finish 72 holes and what that's like. And I think that's what makes golf different than other sports. Sometimes in an NFL game or a football game and in an NBA game and baseball, things happen so quickly you don't have time to think. In golf, most of it is downtime, and it's only those times when you're actually swinging the club where there's actual action. The rest of the time is you trying to focus. And obviously, his mind started to wander in some way or another because you just don't hit it that bad like that without something like that happening. So, for him to talk about it afterwards was really cool, and to hear him, try to reflect on what might have happened. I don't think you have an answer for that. I just think that's how sports are sometimes. And hopefully, this doesn't stick with him and affect him like that. But it was just so weird to see because he's such a good
Yeah.
player.
And especially to see him like between the two bad iron swings, the just standing on 17T while, because there had been, was it Taylor Moore that had put it into somebody's backyard right of the water on 17 or something?
Yeah,
No, was it Moore or Jimmy
one of
Stanger,
those.
one of the
Yeah,
two. They
somebody.
had fired it over the water into somebody's backyard, and so there was a backup. And it was weird to see Lowry just watching Echavarria putt for what was a birdie to tie the lead at that point, just chatting with Smotherman. Like it seemed like he was mentally fine. It just like the second he got over the ball, it was like something, like you said, I don't think he knows. I don't think we know. Something with the swing was alien, and maybe he felt calm in between. But I have to imagine there's some aspect of pressure and self doubt that rolls itself into that. Not to assign any anything to what it was specifically, but it's hard to imagine that's not there.
Yeah, and it was just difficult to see like after he hit those shots, you could just see his body language. Like he was just deflated. Like he knew it was
Hmm.
over, and like you could
Hmm.
just tell he was down. I was just a that was a difficult watch, honestly.
Yeah, and I will disagree with you a little bit, Will. I thought it was entertaining because Nico didn't necessarily know what Shane was going to finish with on 16 when he teed up on 17, and Nico barely made it
Oh,
to that island on 17,
yeah, that was the
and
drama.
and he still had a good putt to that birdie putt was still not a gimme. So that was in itself exciting. And then once Shane went into the water on 17, then the drama was kind of over. You're right there. If Shane would have hit a good shot on 17, then we would have been cooking.
Hmm.
But I will say for that few minutes when Nico wasn't sure what Shane was going to finish with and he hit that tee shot on 17 to the island, that was pretty cool. And then when he made the birdie putt, that was like, okay, here we go. And then it was kind of it. But for those brief moments, it was dramatic.
You're right. And Nico was fired up when he that, by the way, that birdie putt was going 10 feet by. Like
Yeah. Oh
to
yeah.
have the confidence to putt up the hill and just pour it into the back like that, knowing you have to make that putt. Because I think he knew to some degree that Shane had put it in the water. I don't know if he knew he made
Yeah.
double or triple or where he stood exactly, but yeah, that was, I'll give you that. That's definitely true. There was 20 minutes between Shane teeing off on 16 and Shane teeing off on 17, and in the middle there where Echevarria made that birdie, where it was really exciting. I will give you that. I really would have loved if like Smotherman could have poured in a birdie or two, to kind of, even if it was like to, just add a little bit to it at the end. But no, I'm glad because honestly, we got more drama than I thought we would have had when Shane Larry stepped up to the 16th tee, right? Like
Mhm.
he had a three-shot lead, and those are holes, like we said, that are very difficult. But if you need to play them safe, they are golf holes that professionals should be able to play safe pretty confidently. Like you should be able to play those three in one over, right? If you need to, like if you've got that kind of room. Um, but we got some good drama, and it was a fun tournament. We got ready for that tournament talking about how it's kind of a down week, an in between week, a weird one, and you kind of need drama like this to make these weeks stand out to some degree. And I agree with you, Nick. I think it's an interesting conversation about whether or not PGA National is wasted on this event. Obviously, sandwiched between really good events with the Genesis and the Arnold Palmer, but you know, to some degree, if this didn't have PGA National, like what would it have? Like
Yeah.
that's the only reason there was drama here, and that this turned into something worth talking for 20 minutes about, is because it was PGA National. So to that extent, I get why they have nice courses at these small events, but it does feel like a venue that's worthy of a bigger name event and bigger name players.
Yeah, for sure. And then just keeping an eye on some of those other players, it was Brooks Koepka's best result since he came back. Did not have a great first round, was three over. Um, Bear Trap was not pretty for him. But then Friday and Sunday, he went low both days, and it was just really good to see him back firing rounds that we expect Brooks Koepka to shoot. And I think the interesting thing they asked him after his round on Friday, I think. Just sort of based on how his return has been, how his results have been, does it feel like a win to make the cut? And he kind of laughed it off. He's like, if I'm celebrating making cuts, like it's been over for a very long time.
Mhm.
And that was like the first instance of like, okay, Brooks is back. Like we have Brooks Koepka, the major champion, back. And so I was really encouraged by that.
Yeah, I mean, 13 under in his from Friday on in the last three rounds there. Like, and obviously Nico won this at 17 under, right? And I mean, he's one average round away from being right at the top of this leaderboard. It really just took him out, took himself, he pulled a Scotty, took himself out of it with a 74 on Thursday and tried to fight his way back. But no, it's dude, it's fun to have him making birdies. When he's birdied two of the last four and he's popping up a bunch on the main feed of whatever, even if he's not necessarily in contention like he wasn't this week. Um, it was great to see him put together a couple rounds there where you, like you said, see the signs of the old Brooks, see the fight, and recognize that, like, yeah, he's not the same guy, but he's putting it back together. Like he's trending upwards, and we've got a month before, or what is it, a month and a half before we got to start thinking about hopefully he can find his way into, or well, he's in from all his past majors. So hopefully he can find a way to like get his game in great form by the time, the Masters and the US Open and everything rolls around. But it's always fun to see him play well, even at the Cognizant.
Is he in the field for Arnold Palmer?
For the Arnold Palmer, that is a good question. I don't believe so as of right now. I can tell you in 2 seconds. Uh,
Because I
he's
know he's
not
in the
not right now.
players. Okay, yeah. So
He's
we'll
not right
see him
now.
again at the players.
Yes.
That'll be a good test. It's a course where he's won before, and it'll be a good test of a better, like, I didn't want to say it, but it's kind of hard to judge how Brooks Koepka competes against a field when it's at the Cognizant Classic. So
Yeah.
seeing him at the players, like that'll be a good test of, how does his game translate against, some of the best players in the world. So I think that would be a good one to see. I was looking through the notes and this made me laugh, so I want to bring it up. I wanted to check back in on Will, your number one course fit, Justin Hicks.
Oh
He
yeah, how'd he do?
he fired back-to-back 74s and missed the cut at six over.
Nice. And I'd like the record to show that by my number one course fit, you mean Data Golf's number one course fit, because they didn't know what the hell to do with this course. But yeah, no, not a good day for Justin Hicks. And my other guy that we debuted, the prove me wrong guy last week, the guy that theoretically has no business playing well. Um, and unfortunately, I was not proved wrong. Nick Dunlap did not do. He did exactly what we thought he would probably do. Unfortunately, which I again would love to see him turn it around, but 74, 73, 5 over, missed the cut. Only good thing was his putting. He lost 3 strokes tee to green in both rounds that he played, both
Oof.
rounds one and two. He hit 12 of 28 fairways. So we talked about last week. I talked about how he's like around this season. He's around like 48% fairway accuracy, like fairways hit, and around high 270s, low 280s, I believe, maybe high 280s in driving, both of which are like pretty abysmal and very, very low on the tour. He brought those averages down this week. 43% fairways and 275 yards off the tee. Not the best showing. He was pretty much bottom of the field in both of those. So hopefully I can be one of these days I will be proved wrong. So far, the only guy to truly prove me wrong though is Nico Echavarria that I
just after
when
the
when
fact.
he almost won a couple. Well, he almost won when I shouted him out too. But yeah, we're now back-to-back weeks of Garrick Higo being DFL and Nick Dunlap not really putting on a great performance. So maybe we can turn things around with the I get two chances this week, right? With the Arnold Palmer and the Puerto Rico.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
you get a little double opportunity here, two for the price of one. So that's exciting. I'm still looking for Nick Dunlap to, I don't know, figure something out. It's we're deep in the pits right now, but I'm hoping he can start to climb out.
Yeah.
Anybody
Um,
else catch your guys' attention from this past weekend?
I mean, I'm happy to see Joel Damon. Like, I
Yeah,
know anytime he's doing well, that's a good sign. I know he's been through his like struggles mentally and just, seeing that in full display on full swing. He's someone that, he has a great story and just seeing him go through the ups and downs very publicly too. Um, it's always encouraging to see him do well. And I think did he qualify for Arnold Palmer based on
another good question. Wow, you're on your
that?
game this week.
I know, yeah.
I'd have to. It's like the Aeon Swing 5 and next 10, right? That he'd be
Yeah,
qualifying through.
I feel like he got
Um,
in with
I believe, yeah, he is in. He is in. I think we
hell
had
yeah.
him. He was already near the top of the list, right, for the next 10 or the swing five. I think we talked about it last week, but um, he is indeed in the field for the API. So we will see him and that lovely bucket head again. Yeah,
Amazing.
it's always like you said, and he played good, consistent. I think it was 68, 68, 68, 60, or 70 was his so, nothing flashy, but steady golf. Steady golf pays a lot of money on the PGA Tour.
Oh
So if he
yeah.
can, it gets you a lot of places. So if he can keep that up on like you said, some bigger venues like the API next week, it'll be good to track that for sure. The only other one I wanted to shout out is the Højgaard twins. I like both of them a lot. They played pretty different tournaments this week, ended up in around the same place, but Nikolai was all Sunday pretty much or all weekend, and Rasmus had it was a little bit more front heavy. I don't know. I like shouting them out because I like both those guys a lot. I think Nikolai, especially to me, is due. Obviously, could have won that the waste management if he didn't triple bogey his second hole on Sunday. Still finished one shot out of the playoff. Um, he's got all the tools. They both hit the ball a mile. They're both pretty similar games. Great approach players. So definitely people I'm both twins. I am watching as we move forward, and they're both actually like hovering around the OWGR 50 bubble. In with the Masters coming up, which I think only really matters for Nikolai. I believe Rasmus has qualified, but still worth monitoring both those guys. They're great players.
And I think one last thing before we could start take this international, it marked, I believe, the first time in history that a player competed in both the PGA Tour and on TGL on the same day.
Gotta be. Yeah, I was.
That
It was so
was
funny to see home out there, man.
And
On the
Tom
Sunday
Kim,
night.
right?
yeah, Tom
What?
Kim too. I think he
How
said
was Tom Kim? Yeah, you're right.
yeah, he
He said
said
after,
after the
yeah.
round, like that was his main focus was TGL, which
That's good. That's good, Tom.
He played well.
yeah,
He almost saved Jupiter.
He
yeah.
did. Yeah.
The one player, not to make this a whole conversation, the one player we didn't see that we were hoping to see was Tiger Woods. We thought we could see him, not looking like it's going to be likely.
Yeah.
Not playing in today's Seminole member guest either. Um, it's not looking promising for Augusta right now.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
No. Yeah, like you said, we don't need to make it a whole conversation, but it is a bummer. I mean, hopes weren't high, but like you said, I think you said this before we got on the air that the pro member at Seminole is something he plays very regularly and usually takes part in, regardless of as long as he's physically able. And if he's not physically able, we're running low on time if he's not going to be able to play the pro member at Seminole for him to get out there. By the way, the pro member at Seminole should be a sanctioned PGA Tour event. I want that in writing because if the tweet was going around of the it's literally every PGA Tour golfer
It really is, yeah.
and LPGA like both Corda sisters I believe are out there, Nelly and Jessica. Um, and like it was nuts just reading through that thing. It's like, okay, anybody who's anyone is playing at these things. And I was thinking about this when they were talking to Rory too. I guess they said he played Augusta on Saturday with his dad. So he played Augusta on Saturday with his dad down to Jupiter to play TGL. Now he's at the Seminole Pro member today, obviously turning it around to go to the API. It's always funny, I always figure that these guys take their Mondays and Tuesdays as downtime, or their Mondays as downtime, or their weeks off as downtime. But nope, got to go play Augusta with your, I mean, world's smallest violin, right? But you gotta go play Augusta on Saturday, TGL Sunday, Seminole Pro member Monday, turn around, go to play the Arnold Palmer.
God, I couldn't believe some of those guys at TGL. I mean, that didn't start until 9 local time. I mean,
Yeah.
to imagine playing a full round and then going to do that, all I thought was, man, those they must be getting paid well for that.
Oh
I
There's
think
yeah.
I think they're doing all right.
And it's the
Yeah.
funniest thing about one last point about Seminole is that it's so secretive. Like there's no live scoring, there's no results that get put like results are basically like someone sneaks a picture of the leaderboard at on the property. Like it's I just was trying to find results now. I can't find anything as to what's going on.
Yeah. The last note I want to say before we move on, and while we're talking about injuries and recoveries and theories, that Will Zalatoris, who we talked about on Wednesday, is somebody that we were excited to see play this week, did not play this week. He WD'd prior to the tournament with a left ankle injury, about which I haven't seen any real detail come out. Hopefully that means it's insignificant and isn't going to cause him to miss time. Maybe he just, I assume he's in the field at the API, but actually I might be wrong in that assumption. He's not currently in the field at the API. But hopefully he's just resting it. Again, or at least I know I was excited to see him play down at the Cognizant, and unfortunate not to get him out on the course. But fingers crossed he can get himself healthy for some of the bigger events around the corner.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so why don't we move on here then to the LPGA? We had the HSBC Women's World Championship, and Hannah Green won that one. That one was also interesting down the stretch. She actually had 3 birdies and 3 bogeys in her back 9, including bogeying the last 2 holes, almost leaving the door open for Austin Kim to come in and take the win on that one. But a great win for Hannah Green. She's done really well at that tournament. She's got top 10 finishes in 5 of 6 starts, including 2 wins now, and a solo second back in 2022. So that was it was really great for her. Gino Titicul finished tied for 31. She didn't have a great week. What stood out to you guys?
Yeah, I think to me the one bummer, or not the one, but one of the bummers about the Asian swing, which I think is a great thing, but one of the bummers about not being able to watch it live because it is obviously overnight, is that I feel like some of the drama or lack thereof is lost in translation. Like I was trying to piece together this finishing stretch, right? And like see who was where and how close it really was with Austin Kim. Because when I looked at it, I was like, oh, one stroke victory. Like, wow, I wonder what Hannah Green was able to pull off. But I think again, I this is like my understanding. I believe Austin Kim was probably one or two groups in front of Hannah Green, because I think it was Minji Lee was in the final pairing with Hannah Green and didn't play particularly well. But so Austin Kim might have been in the club. I don't know exactly when Austin Kim got in the clubhouse compared to where Hannah Green was on the course, and I'm curious to whether those bogeys were like unforced errors, or if that was her saying, I've got a couple shots to play with, and I know the only person that's a threat is the person in the clubhouse right now. So I'm going to play safe, like maybe Shane Lowry should have done, and take two of those bogeys. But um, yeah, that was kind of my main thought, was just like I'm excited. It's hard to like, we talk so much about the drama that was at the Cognizant, right? And it's like because we watched it, we were able to. It's so hard to like really encapsulate what the drama was without sitting down and watching it live. And obviously, considering it was last night, and we've got a lot on our plates these days, it's been tough. We haven't had the chance to like fully sit down and piece it all together on a minute by minute basis. But um, either way, great for Hannah Green, and like you said, pretty pretty ridiculous tournament resume. At like one tournament just to, I
Yeah, that's
mean, because she's,
incredible.
yeah, like you said, the top 10 finishes in 5 of 6 and 2 wins. So yeah, I think Gino, I'm not taking anything away from her poor performance this week. It's she's the best golfer in the world on the
Yeah, you're
women's
not going to
side.
win
So
every time.
Yeah,
no,
she had a rough first round and maybe a little let down after last week's huge win. I think she finished one place ahead of Lydia, if I'm not
Lydia Ko.
mistaken. Yes. Yeah, and she was the defending champ. So,
Hmm.
there was I think Charlie Hull was tied for 10th. So that people were scattered all around, it seemed like.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, agreed. I don't
So,
know. I go ahead, Nick.
no, I was just going to say, do you have any last points on the LPGA, Will, or?
No, no, no. We can go even more global.
Okay, yeah, we can take this now to South Africa, where, to be entirely honest, the probably the biggest news of the week was what happened right before the tournament. Did you guys see Andrea Pavon?
Oh,
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that
yeah.
was horrible. I
Yeah.
almost
so
forgot about that. Yeah.
in case you didn't hear, Italian golfer Andrea Pavon withdrew from the he withdrew from the South Africa Open Championship because he apparently fell down an elevator shaft in his. So this is according to a GoFundMe page started by his former college teammate. He apparently fell 3 stories down an open elevator shaft in his lodging when the elevator doors opened with no car present.
Nice.
He apparently suffered severe shoulder damage and significant injuries to his back, including several fractures to the vertebrae. He's had two top 15 finishes across the 3 starts on tour this year. He's currently in stable condition. He's recovering from surgery. But yeah, that was just an interesting tidbit that we just saw heading into the week. That was just something that really stood out. But heading towards the actual golf itself, you have Casey Jarvis getting his second straight win on the DP World Tour. Shot a 64 for the low round of the day. Took a one-shot lead into Sunday. And then, excuse me, and then shot a clean 67 to win by 3. Another one of those where it's not really big drama on the Sunday. But this is a case where if you play well enough, you don't have to worry about that drama. He was just lights out all weekend, really only 4 bogeys across the entire tournament. It's just a typical case of get in, get the job done, and win, really. So obviously, just a really good result for our man Casey Jarvis,
Yeah, the only thing that makes me think of, honestly, and this isn't the DP World Tour, and we talked a lot about Shane Lowry, obviously, and I promise we won't, dive right back into the PGA Tour at all. But I do want to shout out Nico Echevarria's actual performance because we talked so much about Shane Lowry's blow up. The fact that I think Nico Echevarria had 3 bogey-free rounds, um, obviously out of 4, he had. I think his Friday round was tumultuous for sure and had like 3 bogeys or 4 bogeys, but to have 3 bogey-free rounds again. Like we can talk as much as we want about Lowry's blow up. Echeverria deserved that win. Played great golf, so not a fluke for sure. But yeah, good for Casey Jarvis back to back. It's rare that you see back to back on any level on any tour. So good for
yeah,
him.
that was impressive
Yeah, totally. I mean, and just the shots I saw coming from the course in South Africa looked spectacular. Looks like an awesome place to go see a tournament.
for sure. Yeah, it's always great to see. I mean, this is it usually happens while we're asleep, but just seeing the DP, I think the DP World Tour is really interesting in the fact that it showcases golf around the rest of the world, and that's something that the
Hmm.
PGA Tour just doesn't quite do. And so I think it's really interesting to see how these other countries present their golf, and obviously, South Africa used to see back in the day. I know they asked Tiger like when he was talking about the new schedule, they asked him where things are a bit different today than they were in previous years. And the one thing you mentioned was that South Africa was where a lot of these players would play in the off season. And now it's like Australia or Dubai, but South Africa used to be a pretty big mainstay for these players. And so it's clearly it has a lot of golf history, and so just to see it showcased at an event like this, I think is really important as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Okay, I'm moving on. Corn Ferry Tour. What do you think, Will?
Not a ton. Another one that I didn't get a chance to watch a ton. Obviously, Alistair Doherty wins at 22 under. Pretty awesome scorecard of 63, 66, 64, 65. I believe it was on a par 70. So take it with a grain of salt, but still really good golf. Yeah, birdie the 72nd. It was his first Corn Ferry Tour victory. So, all props to him. And if you guys don't mind, the next on the docket is the major update, and this is a good spot for me to transition into that.
Yeah, go for it.
Um, so I'm going to do that quickly, but obviously I'll do a brief mention of it each week. But basically, this is just how the week's events in golf have affected exemptions to the 2026 major championships on the PGA Tour. And there was actually some turnover this week, or some interesting stuff this week, just in that the Open Championship uh, has a lot of it's called their Open Qualifying Program, has a lot of exemptions that go through different tournaments that allow like the best player who is not exempt essentially to have exemption into the Open Championship. So this week we had Alistair Doherty was one who the winner of the 119 Visa Argentina Open um, was provided an exemption into the Open Championship. So Alistair Doherty, welcome to the Open Championship. And the same goes for, I believe, Casey Jarvis, the winner, and both two of the three guys that were T2, Frederic Lacroix and Francesco Laporta, those three were granted exemption into the Open Championship at Royal Birkdale as well. Um, and then a third one, Lucas Herbert won the New Zealand Open this week, which also got him an exemption into the Open Championship. So there's a lot of those going on kind of in the background. We're about to hit a little bit of a dry spell, although worth monitoring coming up is that the Open Championship also does provide an exemption for the highest finisher at the Arnold Palmer, who is not already exempt into the Open, which is interesting because that could be somebody who finishes like 20th, or 12th or something. It's almost certainly not going to be whoever wins it, just because of the strength of that field, and how many of those guys are already exempt into the Open. But that is definitely worth monitoring. Outside of that, obviously on the PGA Tour, Nico Echavarria won the Cognizant. It's his third win on tour, first since 2024, and it did get him into the Masters and the PGA. He will probably get into the U.S. Open through OWGR, which is top 60 as of conclusion of the PGA Championship, and the Open is also top 50. So likely, if he continues decent play, he should be into all four, but he is guaranteed into the Masters and the PGA. And because we had so much drama with those exemptions, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the OWGR that I just talked about, which again, top 50 for the Masters and the Open, and top 60 for the US Open. But Nikolai Højgaard is now the man on the bubble. He's already in the Open Championship, but not yet in any of the others. Daniel Berger is hovering around 60. I mean, I only mention him because he's one of my follow through guys and continues to play relatively uninspiring golf. A T32 at the Cognizant is not really going to pique my interest, unfortunately. And the same goes for Michael Thorbjornsen, who started super strong this year and is now falling back to 56th on OWGR after missing the cut at the Cognizant, which is even worse than T32, in case you were unaware. But that's really all the change we had this week. That was kind of the slightly condensed gist. Not every week is going to have so much of the Open Championship exemptions flowing through. I think after the API, we've got a couple of weeks off before any of those kick back in. So that's about all I got on that. I know that we're not going to hit too much detail on the follow through, but I did see Neil Shipley chug a Mitchell Lotto with Travis Kelce.
It was his
And that's
biggest
your follow through
accomplishment.
guy.
It was his
Is that
biggest
inspiring,
accomplishment
Kyle?
of the week. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, what is this? He should be working on his game. He didn't even make the cut at Cognizant. This is one of my guys. I can't believe it. But I mean, they will show that Neil Shipley hole in one on TGL
Oh,
for the rest of
man.
time. I can't
Yeah.
escape it now. I can't believe how many times they showed it on Thursday and Friday when I was watching the ESPN
Yeah.
Plus coverage of the Cognizant. It was really amazing. He's gonna have to play well in an actual tournament, so I don't have to see that shot anymore because that ain't getting me any points or anything for our follow through. Okay.
Yeah, the hole in one and the Michelada are probably the two highlights of his season so far, and they're both TGL. Not what you want
I
necessarily, but
mean, for every Nico Echavarria, Kyle, you're gonna get a Neil Shipley. The game of golf, it giveth and it taketh.
So true. No truer words have been
And
uttered.
I'm curious, what did you guys think of Travis Kelsey on TGL as a
Jason
co-host? I
Kelsey,
think Jason Kelsey, sorry, on TGL. I think he's coming back
unnecessary.
tonight.
Uh,
Also, this is Monday, obviously, that we're recording, but I think he's coming back tonight. Just a lot.
unnecessary. I mean, I think he's got like some endorsement with like some boots that you can golf in. They're trying to push now, which is I think why
Yeah.
he's there. And it's
He's
just
got ankle
everything is
issues.
just so it has to be selling anything. It's just such a turnoff to me. As a Cowboy fan too, don't like the guy to begin
A
with. So don't
little bit
need
of
to see
bias.
the Eagles stuff in there. But like, God, we really always have to be selling something all the time. Like it's just such a turnoff to me. I don't know.
Welcome to the
Yeah.
21st century.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
whatever.
I wish they had some interesting stuff. Like they sent him down under the green to show the wheels and the rotation and everything. And I kind of found myself just being like, man, I wish there was, like one of the engineers who
Yeah,
built this
someone
was
who
down here
actually knew
talking to
it.
me
I
about
mean,
this.
Jason Kidd, like he seems like a good guy, like a
Oh
nice
yeah, of
guy,
course. No, this is not a,
But we're
a
just getting to the
indictment of
point.
him.
No, we're just getting to the point now where it's too much. He's everywhere. He's like, it's the like the Peyton Manning thing where you're on every commercial, you're doing everything, you're overexposed, and people are gonna
Yeah.
Yeah.
start to turn, and that's what kind of happens. And it was like I don't know what he at. Like I watched all of TGL yesterday. Not ashamed to admit it. I had the
No,
Lakers on one
great
TV and
match.
I had the TGL on. It was actually good golf, but like every time they went to him, I was like, why? Like that was just nothing. They had him
Yeah.
like up in the stanchion with
Yeah.
the helmet on. Like
Just standing there.
that was kind of funny, but it was like, what's the point of this? I
He
don't
was there
know.
for like 25 minutes up there, just like
Yeah,
above the screen,
it was
just
crazy.
watching. It was a fun night of golf though, like you said. Shout out Ball Frogs. Take another win. Clinched the clinched the top spot or the top two spot
Yeah,
in the
top. No,
playoffs.
they're the top spot in the
The
planet.
one seed clinched the one seed.
Yeah, Hideki Matsuyama is becoming a Boston sports legend, uttered with
Yeah.
the names of David Ortiz and Tom Brady.
It's true.
And
It's
that's,
true.
you know, going back to the whole Kelsey thing, I think an interesting point as well, to quote our friend Will's most famous phrase about TGL, it knows what it is. And I
Yeah,
think the same way, like, there's the football telecast and then there's the Manning cast. Like
yeah.
it's not taking away from the broadcast because you have the options. I feel like, you had your fun watching the Cognizant. Um, you got your real golf, and then you could choose to continue to watch the Kelsey um show, I guess, and just make it into its like fun little thing. I feel like that's where I feel like TGL kind of shines is having and it was nice to have like prime time. Like it
Hmm.
was kind of like I feel like that's the reason why TGL doesn't take off is because they decide to play their events at like 4 p.m. on a Tuesday for some reason.
Hmm.
And so that makes it a bit easier. That makes it just a bit more fun just to see it. And I feel like it should be on a Sunday. It should be in the off season is where it should be, but it should be a Sunday night and just getting to see that personality come out a little bit more. I think it was fun, I guess. I'm not gonna be like, old man yells at clouds if Jason Kelsey was having a bit too much fun on the broadcast.
Well, it's even funny like hearing them kind of because they mic all these guys up and you can hear all the stuff they're saying. I remember after Uh, somebody made a putt, maybe it was Akshay, and Rory goes, "Nobody celebrates putts like this
Yeah.
team does." And it was just funny, because they were, Tom Kim gets fired up and it's cool to see that just because it's a different atmosphere and stuff, and it's more of like a one shot at a time kind of thing. So the emotions are way more than they'd show in any golf event, and it's I don't know, it's kind of cool. We've always said it
Yeah.
knows what it is and it plays well into it, I think.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I won't complain.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that anything else on any of the tournaments over the weekend, we think we got everything.
I think we should be all good.
I think
Nice.
that's about
Okay.
it.
So if you are one of those sickos who was also going from Cognizant to TGL last night, we got to hear from you. Hit us up on Twitter at Center Cup Pod, on Instagram at Center Cup dot Pod, on TikTok Center Cup dot A dot Golf, and email us centercup.pod at yahoo.com. We're throwing everything on socials. Go look at our Twitter feed and go look at how I picked the correct winner this week and go
And how
look
he's going
at,
to do it again.
yeah,
Yes.
go check out how far ahead of Will and Nick I am. I mean, I've been looking at it every 20 minutes today, just going back and just, oh, it's just awesome to look at.
Yeah,
It's a
feel
sight to
free to look
behold.
at the fantasy golf recap too. Just
Well, that's less important. Yeah, we will give a quick fantasy golf update. Wasn't really much change this week.
No.
Nick is still way ahead with 370. I'm at 240, and Will bringing up the rear as he is making a habit of in our
Yeah,
most
the only consistent
consistent.
thing is that I'm last in both. It's tough, but
man,
that's okay.
the mouth on Kyle today. He gets
I
one
know.
correct pick and
So
he's
much
just
power
Oh,
straight to the head.
dude, you don't know. I woke up with a new man today after that win. I'm waiting for one of the PGA guys to get wind of Will's not my guy, and they're gonna say, you know who's not my guy? Will. If Will's
Yeah,
picking me, I
I
know I'm
know.
screwed.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, and we'll be back on Wednesday, of course, with our preview. Got another big weekend ahead. Of course, the Arnold Palmer Invitational signature
Dude, there's
event.
so much golf this week.
Yeah,
it's
another
a big
another
one.
awesome week ahead. So we
We
will
got
be, yep.
I was double PGA Tour, LPGA, DP World Tour, Corn Ferry Tour, and Live is back.
Yeah, I
We
mean
will
that's
not be previewing every single one of those events,
No.
at least not in depth, but there are six of them to keep track of this week. So for those, like you said, for the golf sickos out there, there's something for everybody. That's for sure.
yeah, we will have no shortage of stuff to talk about for Wednesday's pod. So we are looking forward to that. And as always, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.